Good day, subscribers of Pinoy Chess. I'm going to discuss today a lesson from the late Russian Grandmaster Edward Gufeld, which I am lucky to have heard discuss the principles of the opening uh, somewhere between the years 1987 to 1989 at the Milo Checkmate program of Mila Emperado from the Metropolitan Chess Club. I don't know if that chess club is still existing today. So the lesson goes like, according to Edward Gufeld, if your opponent is sleeping, you have to control the center. So what is the center? Center is e4, e5, d4, and d5. So this is the greater center according to him. But actually, the center also includes the square c3, c4, c5, c6, and then d6, e6, f6, and then f5, f4, f3. So this one is the center, but the greater center is these four squares. So how do you control the center? You have to occupy it with your pieces or your pawns. So for example, you make the move e4. By occupying e4, you control e4, and then since pawns capture diagonally, you control or attack d5. And then you should develop your pieces towards the center. So from the side first that where you intend to castle, so you have to put here f3. So why f3? Because you control or attack h4, g5, and then e5, d4, d2, e1, and g1 and h2. So that's 8 squares. Whereas if you have put your knight here at h3, you only control or attack 4. That's g5, f4, f2, and g1. So generally, without a good, if you have no good reason for putting h3, put it at f3. So towards the center. And if your opponent is still sleeping, develop your bishop. So by developing your bishop here, you are actually attacking d5, e6, and f7. This f7 is the most unprotected uh, square in the black pieces because it's only protected by the king. The same with f2 for white. So why not put it here? You're also controlling the center because you're attacking or protecting e4. So the reason why you should not generally not here without a good reason because you are blocking this d2 pawn. It cannot move to d4. So put your bishop here. And if your opponent is still sleeping, you now castle. So after castling, your opponent is still sleeping, what would you do? You develop the pieces from the queen side. There are two types of pieces actually. The minor pieces, which is the bishop and the knight, and the heavy pieces, which are the rooks and your queen. So according to Edward Gufeld, uh, generally you should first develop your minor pieces. So you develop your knight to c3, so it controls more squares also. You have 8 squares here being controlled by your knight. So you have a4, b5, d5, e4, e2, d1, and then b1 and a2. So that's 8 squares. And it's protecting e4, your pawn at e4. Then after that, you move your pawn here to d4. It's occupying d4, controlling a central square and attacking a central square, which is e5. After that, you can develop your bishop here or here. So if you put here, so that's you have already fully developed your minor pieces. After that, you develop your heavy pieces. So you can move your queen towards here or here and then centralize your rooks. So after that, if your opponent is already awake, it seems that he has no chance to catch up with development and would eventually lose because your pieces are all optimally placed already. So actually, of course, your opponent would not sleep. It's not allowed for you to make more than one move at a time. But in practice, it seems that other opponents, especially the beginner ones, are actually asleep because they are not developing their pieces. They are making uh, non moves that does not improve their position. So that's the reason that by you putting your pieces at the center, you are actually advancing your development, and it seems that they are asleep. So This is the first lesson in opening theory that I have, and this specifically applies to beginners, especially kids that are taking chess for the first time. So thank you, and keep updated for other videos of Pinoy Chess. See you again.